On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks put forth a disgraceful, shameless, putrid effort against the Los Angeles Clippers. What do we take from this? Who's to blame? Oh, we've got it on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thanks for making is part of your listening to the show, being part of the show, listening every day. Ugh, disgusting.
Oh man,
disgusting. Joining me, the post-game prodigy. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
Scared, terrified, disturbed, mortified,
scared. All the words.
Running out of synonyms.
Let me know in the comment section, what's one word to describe this loss? I'm ready for it.
Quick one-word reaction.
I'm ready for it. One word. Give me the Slightly Biased quick one-word reaction. Just give it to me. Just one word. This game only deserves one word. We're going to give it like 25 minutes or so.
Yeah.
But goodness, the Mavericks lose 107 to 88. 88 points against this Clippers team that had not been a good defensive team, really, that doesn't like project to have good defensive players really anymore, especially on the second night of a back-to-back. And so we'll talk about this game, but I kind of want to just start with, all right, who's to blame? Let's start throwing around the blame pie here.
Okay.
Because Dereck Lively missed the game. Do we blame him? The Mavs have now been without Dereck Lively for 2 games.
Dereck Lively, you're not allowed to get hurt.
I guess not. 2 games he's been out. This one, the worst loss of the season for sure. And then the Raptors loss, which was one of the worst losses of the season. And my camera is doing weird things now.
I was wondering what I just witnessed.
I just updated my Mac, and now it's giving me a weird bubble for my thumbs up.
AI has just gone too far.
Why would it? Okay, so I give a thumbs up for those listening. I give a thumbs up, and it does a little like a thought bubble, and then a thumb inside the thought bubble. So like, wait, I'm thinking about the thumbs up, but I'm actually doing it in person. So what's
for the seeing impaired?
No, not even.
They can only see thought bubbles.
It's as useless as the Mavs offense tonight, that feature. But so Dereck Lively's been out for these 2 games. Is it all on Dereck Lively? Like, do the Mavericks play well when he plays and not when he doesn't? Like, we've been talking about the difference between him being on the court and off the court with Luka and Kyrie, and the split is really big. And now all of a sudden the split's going to be even bigger because, like, this game was so bad.
Yeah, and I mean, even going back to the Lakers game, it pretty much went downhill for the Mavericks almost directly after Dereck Lively got hurt.
Yeah,
they nearly blew the 20-point lead in the fourth quarter.
That was the worst quarter of the season.
And then going back to that quarter plus this quarter, someone brought it to my attention. The Mavericks, throughout the first, 15, 16 minutes of this game, going back to the fourth quarter against the Lakers game, against the Lakers as well, there was a 30-minute stretch where no one outside of Luka or Kyrie made a field goal. 30 entire minutes. Like, that is almost unbelievable. That's like an unbelievable statistic. So I don't know. I don't think you can pin the blame on anyone specifically because it was just kind of all terrible up and down. I thought Kyrie played well tonight. And I think I pretty much draw the line there. I actually loved Exum's minutes.
Exum was the best center on the team tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the Clippers went really small too. So in theory, this is like, this is why the Mavericks typically do kind of well against the Clippers because the Clippers are also a small team. And Zubac's just, I mean, when Luka's on, Zubac is just getting cooked relentlessly, which is why he comes off the floor so much. But
they played 39 minutes with either Zubac or Tice on the court. So,
even then, like Tice is a smaller center. It's not like he's a 7-foot bruiser.
Yeah. Blame has got to go with Jason Kidd because you cannot keep the Mavs had 2 days off in LA. Mm-hmm. Team doesn't show up prepared, and you can't just be like, well, he's going to blame the players, right? This is what he does after every one of these games. I've seen it. I haven't listened to the post-game stuff. I'm ready to hear what he's going to say. I mean, it's going to be
I'm not playing. I'm watching, just like you guys.
There you go. That's what he's going to say after the game. And
I have to apologize that you felt that he should have played more.
And then he's not going to say this.
Nick, that's a good question.
He's not going to say that. He's going to say a bunch of other things. But he's going to blame the players, say, well, they just didn't show up. And I kind of agree with him in that sense. Team scored 88 points. It wasn't their plan for them to score 88 points for like nobody except for Luka and Kyrie to have field goals made until like the second half of this game.
Yeah,
that's not in the game plan, right? Like that's not in the game plan for them to do this. Not in their game plan to get out rebounded by 17 to 10 offensive rebounds, and then to get destroyed in fast break and get destroyed in second chance points and get destroyed off points off turn, like everything. Like it wasn't. That's not in the game plan. But at a certain point, like you've got to get your players ready to play. You got to inspire players. Listen to Mike Brown the other day talk to Domantas Sabonis, and he told this story after a game. I've used Mike Brown as an example like 3 times when I complain about Kid. He told this story about the other day where Domantas Sabonis was like, Coach, why aren't we running this certain play? We spent 40 minutes in practice on this one play the other day. Why are we not running it? And Mike Brown goes, well, Sabonis, like we scored 70 points in the first half of this game. So we're doing pretty good right now. We're shooting like 56%. And he goes, okay, I got you. If I'm playing defense, we run that play. They ran that play 17 times to end the game the other night, and they won the game. And like that, and then Mike Brown went to Domantas Sabonis and said, thanks for keeping me accountable. There's no way in hell that happens with the Mavericks. There's no way any story like that. And like they need the connectiveness. They need the camaraderie. They need somebody to play for, right? Like that's what a coach does. Think about some of the greatest coaches in even NBA history. Don't just give me the professional route. Kid will give you they're players. They got to be ready. That's what you were. You were that. Yeah. All these players aren't you, right? They don't have the orange jacket. They're not out there in the Hall of Fame. Think of the Phil Jacksons. They're like, that he feels like your dad or your grandpa you want to play for, right? Like think about, Steve Kerr will sit next to you and walk you through stuff and like, be there for it. Like this is not what Jason Kidd has brought. And so there are games like this where I just go, what are you bringing to the table? Yeah. In games like this, right? And then there are others who are like, okay, and he tried some stuff in this game. He threw some other guys out there. He tried to go small in the fourth, like to start the fourth quarter. Like he tried a couple things here and there, but that goes all outside the personnel, personable EQ of how can I get these guys ready and prepared for this moment? Because if you're always going to say no effort, no effort on defense, no effort on rebounds, we're getting killed in all these effort areas. All right, then what is it? Is it just the leadership of the team? Do players not want to play for Luka? Is that it? Okay, well, you got to get players to play for Luka, right? Like, yeah. Oh.
No, the Mavericks are starting to stack up these games where you're like, what? Like, did they know they had a game tonight? Were they aware that they were playing? And we talked about it on the show early in the season when the Mavericks got off to their hot start, where we were like, hey, it's cool they're winning these games, but they can't come out this slow every single game because they're going to dig themselves some deep holes to get out of. Yeah, tonight's game where, guys, the Clippers on the second night of the back-to-back, this was their 4th game in 6 nights. Yeah. The Mavericks have played 2 games in 5 nights. You should not be getting out-hustled. You should not be looking this ill-prepared for this game. You had 2 full days to prepare for this team. The Clippers played a night ago. Like, you shouldn't look like the effort level shouldn't be this, disproportionate. They look the same way against the Bucks. The Bucks were on the second night of a back-to-back. You shouldn't be getting that out-hustled in the second half of that game against a team that just played 24 hours ago. It's just starting to become a little bit concerning because it is. I mentioned, like, obviously the Mavericks had a lot of personnel problems defensively and stuff like that. And their defense wasn't bad tonight. Like, that's what's crazy. Yes, they're going to get out rebounded. They lack size. We all know this stuff. This stuff's true. Dude, rewatch the games and just look at the players on the floor. The effort level is abhorrently bad at times.
It's awful.
And they gave up a bunch of offensive rebounds tonight. But you know what? Zubats had 4 offensive rebounds. Okay, you don't have the size. Lively's out. All right.
I said 2.
Russ had 4 offensive rebounds. That's a guard. Terrence Mann, 2 offensive rebounds. That's a guard. And go look at their offensive rebounds. They're not, oh my God, Dwight Powell, you suck. It's, oh my God, like, why are we not putting a body on him? Why are we not, Dwight Powell's terrible tonight. But why are we not bumping that guy? Why is no one bumping that guy off of his spot? Why are we just letting them waltz into the paint and just grab rebounds uncontested? It's inexcusable.
No, and I would go down the LOL, LA nightlife, undefeated. Like I would blame that for this if we hadn't seen this loss already several times this year.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Right?
Too.
Like we've seen this. Bucks, Raptors, Nuggets to an extent. Like we've seen this loss before. We've seen this loss over and over again now. And it's all like, oh, the effort wasn't there. Okay, well then to be a good team, you have to have that effort and you have to get there. Even if you're not getting the ball on offense. Like you signed up to play on a team with Luka and Kyrie, Grant Williams, Derek Jones Jr., Josh Green, like all of you guys signed up on this team to play next to Luka and Kyrie. They're going to get shots all the time. They're going to do this. Like, you've got to put in the effort on the other stuff. And like, man, you can just put blame on every single player. You can put blame on kid. There's enough to go around. There's a big enough pie to go around. Coming up, let's talk about how, man, how do you even tease into the rest how do you even tease into the rest of this game? Let's talk about what else we saw. Garbage. That's what we saw.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
I need a recovery beer.
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, especially after today, being part of this show. If you want to support the show, text me, get text alerts from me, and more. Subscribe to the subtext. Click the link in the description below. Get text straight to your phone. All right, Slightly. 18 points in one quarter, 17 in the other, 26 in the fourth. They pulled the plug with 4.5 minutes left or so.
Yeah.
27 in the second. Why couldn't the Mavericks score tonight?
A mixture of things, I think. We talked about earlier how the Clippers haven't been that good defensively. They've been the second best defense in the league over the last 2 weeks. So they've been better lately. And I got some. I thought they played some pretty good defense tonight. And they have that almost kind of like what the Raptors can do at times. So they have like a bunch of size on the floor. So when the Mavericks, a team that loves switch hunting, you're just switching like Paul George and Kawhi, or Kawhi and Terrence Mann. Like, it's not like you're getting a great advantageous matchup. And we talked about how the Mavericks went super small. The Clippers also went super small quite a bit in this game. We're like, I don't even know who the center would have been on their team, like Terrence Mann maybe. But Mavericks, 23% from three. You're not going to win a lot of games when you're shooting that poorly. Granted, 1 of 8 from Luka. His shooting stuff, he's been fine shooting threes this year. So whatever, those will happen. Tim, 2 of 9. Those will happen with him too. But lack of shots. Felt like they never got out in transition at all. Felt like they never pushed the pace in this game.
Once.
Where in a game,
Luka got that one layup.
Yeah.
That one layup was like their first fast break points. It was in the first half. I'm
trying to see Cleaning the Glass says they got out in transition a good amount. It didn't feel like it to me. But it just, when your offense is struggling to get going, I feel like the Mavericks didn't get a lot of great looks. And that's been like one of the criticisms of Kidd too, where it's like, all right, we know how dependent this team is on Luka's going to grab all this attention. All right, kick out to an open three. When those aren't falling, what's next? And the reality is it's Luka, hero ball, Kyrie, hero ball. And that's a tough ask, especially when Luka doesn't have a great shooting night. And, Kyrie played well, but it's just a lot to put on their shoulders.
It's a lot. Other guys have to show up. I thought that the Mavericks went early on. They went for, all right, we're not going to run any actions. We're just going to let Luka win his one-on-one matchup. So it was Luka versus PJ Tucker. It was Luka versus Terrence Mann. It was Luka versus, James Harden or whoever. Like, maybe he got a switch and a cross matchup or something like that down the floor. But they didn't try to run, because what the Mavericks did against the Clippers the first time is the Clippers doubled him off of every catch, and he just he beat them. And then he got the switch on when they stopped doing that, and then he beat them on that. He scored 44 points against them. The last time the Mavs played this Clippers team with Harden and all that, they scored 144 points. Almost half. They almost scored half the points that they scored last time they played this team. This is why I say there's enough blame to go around. And some people are gonna be like, "Oh, it's all on Jason Kidd." Okay, sure, but their game plan wasn't to do this either. And it's a lot on the Mavs. Just all right, 1-on-1 with Luka Doncic, and then nobody else was moving around, and then everybody just got tough legs. And I do believe in the LA nightlife thing, that once you get all right, your legs are kind of feeling heavy, and you were out last night, and then all of a sudden the extra effort things don't come as easily, and so now all of a sudden you're digging yourself a bigger hole. The problem is we've seen that loss a couple times now, and so you can't just keep blaming that over and over again. Mavs 9 of 38 from 3. I didn't feel like they created a lot of really good threes either. Felt like they were rushing a bunch of shots. Thought Tim took some really awful shots in this game, and the Mavs couldn't afford to do any of that.
No, yeah. Tim had some, it's one of these where the shot selection was really bad, but do I want to say, they're down 20 points. It felt like the whole game almost, Tim's trying to shoot them out of it. Luka's trying to shoot them out of it. I don't know, but they did not get a lot of easy looks, and it was just a disgusting game. There's just not a lot to say outside of that. It was just a disgusting performance.
Felt like they were trying to shoot themselves at it. Like each individual player, all right, I'm going to shoot myself into this game, right? Because if I hit a shot, I'll feel good. I'll get that adrenaline, right? It's like It's like when I'm sitting late at night, if you're ever working and you're like, all right, I'm trying to work through some kind of project. You're like, oh, I've been putting it off, and now, all right, I got this project. I'm tired. End of a work day, end of the night, or however you do your work. And you're like, all right, let me just watch a TikTok video, and maybe that'll like get my dopamine up, give myself like a hit, like let me just give myself a little hit of something, and maybe I'll be energized to get back into it. And then you like give yourself a hit, and you give yourself a hit, and you give yourself a hit of it.
3 hours later.
And you're like, man, I've just been scrolling, and now I'm like watching like Lord of the Rings like translation of what Elvish means in certain scenes in the movie, and you're like, what am I? And all of a sudden you're like, it's been 35 minutes. You're like, what am I doing? That's what it felt like most Maverick shots were tonight. It's like, all right, let me give myself a hit, and if I hit one of these shots, then maybe I'll get into it. It's like it just never happened.
No, that was a good one. That was a good analogy, because that is what it felt like. But then it was weird because it's like, okay, Grant Williams 3 shots, and he passed up, I don't know, 4 or 5 threes that I thought were shots he probably should have shot. Yeah. And then he, tries to break his guy down, and bad things happened. I don't know. It was just really.
Well, the Clippers closed out well. I'll say that.
Yeah, the Clippers played good defense.
The Clippers closed out well, and they took their loss the night before to the Pelicans. They had that game in the bag and just completely gave it away.
Yeah.
They took that loss, and it felt like they put in some extra effort because they wanted to win this game, and like they played with some pride and like some shame, and I didn't feel like a lot of Mavericks did tonight. Kyrie did, like you mentioned. I felt Luka did in the first half, and then in the second half he had the whole incident with Westbrook where Westbrook was going at him, and then Westbrook was like, "Go at this man." He was like literally pointing at Luka, which, by the way, that you can stare down a guy after you like dunk over them, and you get ejected for that. But if you point at somebody I just don't understand what the rules are to this anymore. Like, I don't think Westbrook should get ejected for that, but if like Tatum and whoever like stares somebody down and you get a tech for that, then how do you not get a tech for like literally pointing in someone's face and being like, go at this man? Yeah,
that was a rough look. Russ, there was like, the game was already pretty much over, but the Mavs were like in miracle range, I guess, where it's like a 16-point game or something like that with 5 minutes left. And it's like
14-16 is not that much in today's NBA anymore.
No, yeah, that's like miracle range. Oh my God, the Clippers completely collapsed. We're in this game. I mean, keep in mind, 2 nights ago, this team almost blew a 20-point fourth quarter lead. So anything is in the realm of possibility. And yeah, Russell Westbrook just probably 4, 5, 6 possessions in a row just went right at Luka and scored or got fouled every single time. And that's I didn't like. It was obvious what they were doing. Hide Luka on Russ. Russ can't shoot. But the Clippers gave Russ the ball every time, and Russ beat him off the dribble every time. And Luka's not going to win that ever. So I thought that was probably not a good coaching decision there or whatever. But hey, I'm not a coach.
No,
probably should be.
No, you're not. You're not. You're just.
I'm not playing. I'm watching, just like you guys.
You're doing that. You're not playing. You're not even coaching. You're just watching. You're just watching all of it. The center situation. I mean, for all the Richaun Holmes love that we gave him the night before, we didn't see a ton from Richaun Holmes in this one. He had 5 rebounds, but he felt like he got beat a ton. He just was put in so many different switches where you're trying to guard different guys, and I thought he held his own here and there, but didn't add anything to the offense, which is tough. If like you do one thing and you don't add stuff to the offense, then that's not good. Dwight was even worse than that.
Yeah,
I think Dwight slapped more rebounds to the Clippers than he did to himself or to other players. Like,
see, so at a certain point, if your team is shooting a bunch of threes, I have to wonder: is it like, I'd have to go back and watch. If you're shooting a 3 and the other team's guarding out on the perimeter, tipping it kind of makes some sense. But if 3 of the 5 defensive players are out on the perimeter, maybe you don't tip that one because that's just going to be an easy transition opportunity, which it is every time. Can I say something real quick? Guys, you don't need to come into my Twitter mentions about Dwight Powell. You don't need to do it. All right. You don't need to be running victory laps. You just don't. The Mavs need a center. I've also agreed with you.
Slightly. I've been right for 5 years about Dwight Powell. Yeah. It's like okay.
Well, people have been like, Slightly Biased is to blame for this about Dwight Powell. I'm like, dude, I don't make personnel decisions.
I love that. I love when people blame us. I was like, I don't know. Jason Kidd reads my tweets. I don't think he listens to me.
Yeah.
we have proof of that.
Yeah. But listen, guys, I get it. All right. I get it. Trust me.
Well, and hey, if you're going to defend, I defended Dwight Powell in the past too. He's been really bad this season.
Yeah, he's not been.
Mavericks have been terrible when he plays. I've been all over that this season, how bad they've been. And One of my things was, all right, you start Rashawn Holmes, see how that goes. All right, they tried it again this time. My other thing was, if Lively's going to be out, you've got to play Omax in some of these bench lineups because they're just too small. You just can't run these 4-6-5 guys and Dwight Powell, because then you might as well just be running 5-6-5 guys, right? Because you're not getting any advantage with Dwight at that size. Like you're getting none right now with Dwight at 6'9", 6'10", whatever he is. So you've got to play Omax. So he tried Omax at the beginning, and I was like, oh, Jason Kidd, listen to the pocket ball. And then he played Tim and Dwight together again, and that's been one of my big no-nos. Like, you just can't play those two guys together. They've been too bad. Like, 132 defensive rating. It's gonna go up, down. It's gonna look better after this game, because overall the Mavericks defensive rating was what, like 117? It wasn't too bad in this one. So
yeah, it's not terrible.
But their offense was literally putrid. Like, the worst offensive game they've had in maybe years.
Maybe 94 offensive rating. That's like you're entering
good.
You're entering like Detroit Pistons, San Antonio Spurs, Point Sohan territory. Which is again kind of like all right. It was just a terrible offensive night, but whatever. But as we said earlier, these nights are kind of starting to stack up, where it's like one thing or another, where the team just does really badly. And it's like, man, we got to be more prepared for these games, guys. I don't that falls on coaching at the end of the day. It just
they had two losses where they had an offensive rating this bad last season. Do you want to try to guess what games those were?
I'm gonna guess
one of them's early in the season, one of the worst losses of the year that you can remember. Magic loss. They had a 92.5 offensive rating. That was one of the worst games I've ever watched.
Yeah, that was the red flags of that season going crazy.
Early on, we were like, oh, God, this might be really bad.
Whoa, good teams should not have games like that.
And then Memphis in March, there was one where they had an 89.2 offensive rating. And
all of those February onwards games just all meshed together into one game.
I've got to look back at that game. I can't remember anything about it.
I can't remember. The only games I remember are Maxey game-winning 3.
No, but the Spurs one where Maxey overthrew the pass, and then the game after that where he hit the game winner.
What's hilarious, that was the game, even though the Mavericks won that game against the Spurs, when Maxey threw that pass out of bounds, where I said, yeah, tank the rest of this. I do not care that they won this game. Tank. This team is done.
The 13th. What was this one? Oh, Memphis. This was a loss in March where Luka and Kyrie didn't play. literally,
I have no recollection of that game.
Literally, the only times that this has happened where the Mavs have had this bad of an offensive rating, Luka and Kyrie didn't play.
I genuinely have no recollection of that game at all. But it stacks. March 2023 Mavs. Sounds about right.
Oh, that game was the game David Roddy had 19 points. You remember that one?
Yeah. He had back-to-back games.
It was bad.
Where he went crazy.
Do you take any good things from this game? Literally any at all? I guess you've mentioned that Kyrie was pretty good. He showed some shame to beginning of that fourth quarter and finished 26 and 3 assists.
I love Dante Exum minutes. And I thought he again gave you good minutes tonight. My only concern with him is because I think he could be a 20-plus minute a game guy. He just brings a lot of intangibles to your team. He hustles. He rebounds well for his size. He defends. I love his pace. I love how he runs the offense. He has to start hitting threes. That's just –
or just taking them.
Taking them and making them. That is make or break for him, because he's just not going to get those minutes otherwise. But I liked his minutes. And, yeah, I mean, Kyrie was a +1 in this game in 32 minutes. And I mentioned this before we went live. I'm scared to, talk about this information because it's 16 games into the season. And, I already get yelled at so much.
Stuff over there.
I already get yelled at so much for stuff like this, but the on-off numbers are starting to get a little weird. It's starting to reach the point in the season where maybe you read into some of the on-off stuff a little bit. And the on-off numbers for the Mavericks are wonky. They just are, if you look them up. They're like 8 points better when Luka's off the floor. And I think that's kind of a testament to Kyrie's had a good start to the season. And I guess they're doing really well in those minutes where Kyrie's on and Luka's off. But, Tim Hardaway Jr. has also been really good. So there's just on-off numbers can be really wonky, but it is just something to keep in mind. I'm looking at it right now. Luka on, Kyrie off is a -0.5. So they're actually losing those minutes currently. Kyrie and Luka together is a +2. You want that number to be, you want that number to be way higher. And Kyrie on, Luka off is now a +7. That's similar to where it was a year ago. Last season. And it's weird because it's in the last like couple of weeks that those numbers have started to deteriorate. And I'm not
really, and honestly flipped.
Yeah, because at the start of the season, it wasn't that. It was opposite. Because I even remember I did a video on it, and it was completely opposite from where it was last year. But now these are the numbers they were a year ago. And I still think it's too early, but it's just something to monitor. I don't know if that's maybe a rotation thing that like Luke is out there with guys that kids may be thinking like, okay, we desperately need Luka to carry the minutes when these guys are on the floor. I don't know. I'd have to look into it deeper, but just something interesting.
It's something to watch for sure, and they're definitely not going to get better after this game. Luka minus
No.
14 and Kyrie a +1. So
Yeah.
definitely not going to get those numbers are not going to get better. So sounds like a good thing for me and Reggie to talk about tomorrow when we do an episode. So we'll talk about that. Let me know in the comment section. Give me one word reaction to this game. That's what I want. Just one word. We'll be back, and then Slightly and I will be back on Tuesday, probably Mavs Rockets. Dirk is going to be on the broadcast. Remember I asked Mark Follow about that a couple weeks ago, so be ready for that one. That's going to be must-watch TV, and so check that game out. The Rockets have also been playing really well, which is concerning.
Last in-season tournament game of the year.
Last one ever for the Mavs.
But ever, hopefully not. Hopefully it's back next year.
Well, they're not going to play one. Not going to play
will not be
this
another one this year for the Mavs.
There you go. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom.